Hi, this is a video on looking for employment. I am an incredibly good fault finder, uh, diagnoser of buildings, factories, etc. And I was once licensed in 6 different technical trades. So I'll give you a rundown on some of the things, some of the faults I repaired recently, which were truly amazing. The first one I want to talk about is a motel. Let me put the air conditioner on the car. It was a motel that I went into. I won't say the number of stories. Let's say it was 10-story high, and a room on the 10th level with the roof above, concrete roof above, which should have been in a harder MPA to make it more waterproof, just slightly, or an additive. I'm not sure. So there was a roof in the leak. When I arrived, I asked the fellow in charge of the motel maintenance what problems were in the building, and he showed me that there was a room closed off in the top floor, and there was a roof leak above, and took me to the roof and showed me that there was a membrane which had become separated from the concrete and was bouncing up and down with water under it. And so they were going to reseal the roof at, I think they said something like $150,000. So that was day one. They showed me that. They showed me that that there were new cabinets going in to the motel, a 10-story motel in the heart of Brisbane, and the cabinet maker was on site installing. He had installed 2.5 levels with another so many to go, and it was $1 million contract to do bathroom cabinets and cabinets beside the bed, because there was a water leak, as usual in some hotels, underneath the partition wall into the bedrooms, from overflows. People shouldn't overflow the bath, etc. So there was also a fault in the annexure building where they had weddings, and the annexure building, aside from the motel, so many stories, was an apex steeple roof to make it look like a church type steeple roof from a distance, and they were having their wedding functions etc. in the annexure building, but unfortunately, on a downpour or beforehand, there was a leak onto the dance floor. Quite embarrassing, and losing a few funds due to that. And anyhow, so day two, when I arrived, the fellow who was in charge of the maintenance asked me to fix a pop-up toaster, and being the fellow in charge, and it's still my priority today. If somebody's in charge in construction, if somebody held the drawings, then he was in charge, and he did the finger pointing. So this finger pointer told me to fix an electric pop-up toaster. While I was mucking around with the public pop-up toaster, out of my own curiosity, rather than get into a discussion, I was diagnosing the problems in my mind, and I'll tell you how I do that in a moment, so that you understand how I do repairs. And I'll talk about another motel just down the road who had given this motel a heads up that I was good at what I do. I was at the other motel first, and I'll tell you this motel because it's the most exciting story, really. And so while I was fixing this pop-up toaster and whatnot, I was contemplating the repairs that were needed in the building, and Um, and I decided that I would go to the roof on day 3. I would go to the roof with some special some special Sikaflex. Sorry, not Sikaflex. Some special silicon I had. It was in a Sikaflex brand at the time, and so I was pretty sure I was being told where the leak was. Yeah, okay. There's a hint to how I do repairs. Um, and also on day 2, I decided to go up and investigate the cabinets. There was something that I didn't feel was quite right about the cabinets, and I went up to the top floor to the first bathroom that he had replaced the cabinetry, and there was swelling at the bottoms of the cabinets already. So it said to me that he was using the wrong material. I didn't voice anything. I just simply went back to my toaster and was trying to repair the toaster. Um, the pop-up or something wasn't working properly. And so to keep the young fella happy, I continued working on the toaster. And so um, it was later on that afternoon, day 2, that I went over to the annexure building, popped the tile, the roof tile, to see that the leak was running straight down from the apex of the roof, and one single pole that went up to the apex, and it was leaking down the pole. And at the edge of the dance floor, it was spreading across the dance floor. So day 3 came, and morning tea time. Before morning tea, I asked if I could go and repair the roof leak. That room hadn't been let out for 15 years or more since the building was built, and it was an inherent roof problem. So the fact that the roof problem was there since the building was built, and gradually getting worse, was an indication of something that was to do with the construction of the building, and probably not the roof cracking. The roof would have cracked, a decade later. So, um, I meditated. While I'm working, I meditate. I'm in another world, so to speak. And so I went up there at smoko time because he wouldn't let me look at it. He kept telling me, insisting that the roof was going to be reskinned for $150,000. So I went up there, a bit of goop on my glove, and inside a 6-inch cast pipe, took the 3 screws off the grill, and wiped it around the joints, in particular the 2 joints, because the leak downstairs in the room looked like it was over to the back of the room, which was around about where the drain would have been. And so put lots of goop in there, half a tube of a normal tube of that special brand polymer sealant, and gave it another couple of hours. At lunchtime, went back and hit it with the fire hose. No leaks. Stuck the fire hose in the drain. No leaks. And that was cured. I don't know what they did with the roof. So the next thing was that I grabbed some material from the cabinet maker, 4 short bits, and I immersed them in a bucket of water, 1 piece for 1 hour, 1 piece for 4 hours, 1 piece for 8 hours, which was the length of the day, and the next piece for 24 hours. And of course, the swelling was occurring. He wasn't using moisture-resistant MDF, and I took it to the temporary manager to show him. Then on my last day there, I didn't know I was going to get the sack. I didn't know that the manager's brother-in-law was repairing the cabinets. So on my last day there, in the morning, I took the pieces of MDF and showed the manager the swelling in different stages and how many hours it was in the water for. Moisture resistant wouldn't do that. It would probably take months and months. I saw a piece of MDF once in a 20-gallon drum of hand cleaner. which is kerosene based, etc. And they were using the MDF to wipe it on your hands. And I looked at the MDF really quite strongly and noticed that there was no swelling in the piece of MDF that was in the hand cleaner, and so learned about how good moisture resistant is. That was there for months and months. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the next job I did was I went over to the, I remember the size of the pole. It was like a 6-inch pole. I don't know how thick it was irrelevant, but it was a 6-inch or 8-inch pole. I can't remember at this time. And I took over some stud, some zinc annealed stud, a piece of stud, and I built a gutter around the pole. I actually gooped the holes. I think it was bottom plate. Yeah, it was bottom plate. I cut bottom plate into a gutter, taped it on while the silicone was going off. Actually, I never removed the tape, and put a 20mm hole through it, and a length of conduit out to the roof through a vent, and their dance floor would have been cured. So that was one building, and as I said, the manager didn't tell me why, but I got the sack from that place and found out a couple of weeks later from one of the house staff that the manager's brother-in-law was installing the cabinets for $1 million contract. So anyway, I somehow got caught up in the politics. But the other building that I came from a few months before was owned by, it was privately owned by one particular guy. And what happened was, while I'm tinkering around, while I kept my mind consumed with something I was looking up on the computer and etc., I saw a problem up on the roof that was being prompted. I was being prompted about, and so I went up, just raced straight up onto the roof into the plant room, and looked at a pump. Didn't know what it was for, but there was a 40mm in and a 40mm out on the pump, 240 volt. Put my hands each side, and one side was very hot, the other side was cold. And so I realized there was actually the pipe split into each section, and two pumps. So it was a standby system of circulating pump for the hot water. And so both pumps were out, both pumps were gone. I made note of that, then went down to, he didn't tell me that hot water was a problem. It's usually a great deal of a problem in all motels to keep up with at peak times. So I then went to a little Besser block building just outside in the car park at the lower level to find his boiler system. And he had one boiler, and the boiler, I was a open class gas fitter. The boiler wasn't working properly, so I took the model of the boiler and searched all over the world because there wasn't one available in Australia. I searched and found one in New Zealand, the very last same identical model boiler, which would have been remove and replace very easily. And I took a hammer with me, believe it or not, to check out the model number at one point, and I'll tell you what that hammer was for in a moment. And found a boiler at quite an incredibly good price because it was a bit older, brand new but older, and how much the shipping fees was from New Zealand. And then with my hammer, the information I grabbed from using the hammer, I went down to see the owner manager and told him that he had two circulating pumps that were out. I swapped the wiring or something on them. I think the plugs that were on them, I swapped them or something like that, and neither of them kicked in. And I told him about those, and I gave him the model number, and he ordered them in because he was in charge of all purchasing. And then I told him that the boiler was faulty. It wasn't getting to temperature. I had measured with a thermometer a gun thermometer, and the output wasn't very good compared to the input. And so he ordered a new hot water boiler system, gas-fired boiler system, and he said to me, "It's in a room, and how are we going to get it out of that room and a new one in?" And I said, "Well, I used a hammer, and all of the block work is hollow, so it's just a matter of knocking down the block work on one side, in with a plumber and gas fitter, and with some big Stiltsons when your hot water system arrives, and replacement. A matter of about 4 hours to replace it, get it up and running, and then replace your block wall." So he had that chap had a really, really elite, very elite urinal that on the ground floor in a bathroom, a full bathroom toilet, public toilet area of the motel, which was all done up in marble. A truly beautiful marble and gold trim taps and etc. Truly beautiful bathroom, but this damn urinal wrapped up in black plastic. And I asked him why that was, and he said that's his favourite piece in the bathroom, but it's too expensive to connect the water supply. So I said, okay. He told that to me in passing on the way to lunch or something. He was, and so the next day I went down to all of his stocks of old washing machines, pulled out a water valve, went and bought in the local hardware store a movement sensor barbecue light, pulled it to pieces and made sure that it was in a J box and safe, etc. The movement sensor sat on the ceiling, and it turned on a 240 volt washing machine valve on top of the copper pipe that fed the urinal. And I think I did a garden hose or something in makeshift, knowing that he might follow suit. I fixed it cheap. I think it cost about $15, and it put a smile on his face for the day. And so we were able to look into more expensive or better looking equipment. What else was wrong with that building? Oh, he had his own laundry and very old washing machines, and a fire happened in one of them. And what do you know? There wasn't a thermal cutout on the heating elements. What quite simply happened was the fan cut out. I repaired the fan, and then put a thermal safety on the element, just a bimetallic, like I think in a refrigeration trade they call them a Clixon, on the side of the compressor, fridge compressor for overheating. Automatic reset, but I think I wired it so that the element wouldn't come back in when the Clixon reset. So I'm guided as a medium, and my mediumship is stronger nowadays. And if I can come into your workplace, or even if it's not a workplace, and just simply cruise around and get some things done, get some general maintenance done, whatever's on the list, and feel into the ancestors of those who own the property, own the business, and etc. And I don't run around talking about God. I don't run around talking about. I'd rather talk about the weather and stuff in passing, if people are wanting to, water cooler talk, so to speak. I'm not a chatty, and I like to get into it. And sometimes the first motelier did give me the sack. I fixed a lot of his inherent problems. There were other problems too that I fixed, and he didn't like me. He watched the cameras obviously, and didn't like me goofing off from time to time. And sometimes I need to goof off. It's either that or I goof off in my time outside of work. So I need sometimes to goof off for 10 minutes or half an hour sometimes, to be able to link in, to be able to hear, to be able to connect with the guys. I know this is a very different type of resume, but my trades are electrical. I did electrical contracting. On top of that, on top of the normal electrical apprenticeship, I spent another 8 years in night college doing electrical, PLCs, programmable logic controllers, all sorts of control. I'm not fantastic at reading control diagrams. Oh, so there is another example I can give you. One of the first assistant chief engineer positions I had down the Gold Coast. The engineer said that the chief engineer said that he had a fellow coming in from Western Australia to look at the boiler system, another hot water problem. And I said, well, he said he was about to get the plans out and have a look at the plans. And I said, well, give me a look at those plans. And I circled with my finger a drawing, a sketch of a mechanical piece on the drawings. And I said, there's your problem right there. And he said to me, well, that's the pump, the circulating pump for whatever it was, 28 stories. And I said, well, that's the problem. And he said, no, it's not. That's not the problem. And I said, well, okay, then it's not the problem. So then we went to have a look at the boiler and etc. And I said, I'm not at that point in time, I wasn't a gas fitter. I said that boiler's undersized. And he said, no, they're running it quite well. I said, okay. And then he had a storage tank and no lid on the storage tank, and hot steam was just oodling out of the storage tank. And I said, you need to put a lid on that. And he said, no, that's not the problem. I said, oh, well, when's the specialist come in from Western Australia? And he said, tomorrow. And when the specialist arrived, he went straight up to the roof, and he pointed to the circulating pump, and he said, that circulating pump is too small. And I said, oh, bingo. And then he looked at the tank oozing out with all the steam, and he said, that needs to have a really good lid on it, ventilated lid of some sorts for pressure. And so, bingo, there's another one. And he said straight off that the gas burner was too small. He said that it was inefficient. Now, he didn't mean that it was too small. I was slightly incorrect. He meant that it needed renewing because of the age. So, electrical, open class gas fitter, up to 8,000 litre tank, the type you see in a service station, of course. Restricted plumbing, hot water license, restricted thermostatic valves as an ancillary, and of course with the restricted plumbing, it included drainage. So air conditioning, gas handlers license, and telephone data cablers license with extensions on PABX repairs and whatnot. Pest control technician, and you don't need termite ancillary, the termite license in motel type situations. So electrical, plumbing, gas fitting, air conditioning, pest control. What was the other one? Oh, I can't remember. So the funny thing is, don't listen to it, but I have a couple of really close relatives to me who are just wonderful people, telling everyone that I'm as nutty as a fruitcake. The Holy Grail of Science is my book. I don't talk about it. I would have mentioned it first if this was to do with work and income. I'm building a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom hospice for disability. Of course, they will be disabled when they come in. Well, not necessarily all of them, I guess, but a hospice for people with cancer and etc. People, who are in their last year or etc. years, months, etc. And I'm an ordained minister, so I need to put some bucks together to really get this place going and get it finished so that some people can come in and and then enjoy the facilities, etc. I hope to have a 24/7 couple as carers, um, and be able to get in others as well. I haven't done the nurse call system, so that's one of the things. And there's a balcony, and the hot water's sort of sorted out, and a bathroom that needs to be fitted out. Maybe, just maybe, you've got some repairs that need doing on a building, and you've got some spare labour we can swap. Like 1 day a week or something, etc. Anyway, I'm open to suggestions. I just need to get my hospice up and running, and whatever amount of time it takes to get your inherent problems, repaired in your building. I would love to be able to work with somebody, and hey, you hold the plans. You're in charge. Have a great day, folks. I'm still not over the COVID. I'm running around in amongst Wacol or whatever I am, Sumner Park, looking for work. I'll sweep the floors or whatever, and if I'm asked for anything that I see any problems, I'll then suggest I'll wait. I'll wait to be prompted, unless it's something extremely urgent or needs repair. So I've got a fantastic patent idea too that I want to pay for a patent. It's to do with glass, and it's going to revolutionise glass, and maybe, just maybe, that will get me some income going as well. So anyway, sorry that you had to put up with my talk, my voice. Have a great day, folks, and I'll get my fingers crossed that somebody calls 0481 870 261, and it's not my fault that I'm unemployed. It's just some wonderful people that know me, that are just so close to me, and they know so much about me. Never spend any time with them. Have a great day, folks. Bye.